In 1759 on Mauritius Island, the frame of a slave falls within the sea. As she drowns to death, she prays for her husband Masimba by no means to surrender and keep their people. The subsequent day, a set of slaves together with Masimba hold to paintings on a plantation that belongs to Eugene. There are simplest weeks left of harvest, so Eugene asks Masimba to preserve an eye fixed on matters and make certain no person is slacking off. He additionally calls him Cicero in place of his actual name. This causes any other slave to peer him as a traitor. That night time Masimba teaches his daughter Maddie extra analyzing and writing. Maddie interrupts the lesson to percentage that her buddy Ruby confirmed her path at the southwest that must take them to Fibulumi, a village wherein all runaway slaves hide. She wants to run away, however Masimba forbids it, saying that Fibulumi is only a myth. The potential threat receives extra apparent once they see a guard shooting a slave outside. The following morning Eugene and his guard seize any other slave who attempted to break out. Since this turned into her first try, they burn her return to mark her with a lily flower. If she ever attempts again, her ears and tendons may be reduced off. Masimba has to translate this caution for the alternative slaves at the same time as a person loses his ears due to the fact he turned into caught a 2D time. Eugene then asks Masimba to remind all people that a third breakout try is punished with death. In the center of the night time, Masimba reveals Maddie having a panic assault after one in all the guards abused her. He hugs her tightly and guides her via it with prayers till she calms down. Afterward Maddie insists they must kill all their masters and run, declaring that the alternative slaves will comply with him as a leader. Masimba nevertheless refuses and calls Maddie Colette, which she hates. Maddie doesn't need to lose her culture, however Masimba prioritizes her destiny in hopes that through making her healthy and with the colonizers she can also additionally get a task as a seamstress away far from the plantation. Sometime later, Masimba is referred to as to the primary residence wherein Eugene is having dinner with a few very critical people. The governor knows that Masimba can communicate each languages and wants him to assist him apprehend the slaves. He asks if black human beings have to be freed. However, due to the fact Masimba is scared, he solutions that black human beings exist only to serve. When he seems as much as communicate, the governor is indignant and Eugene right away kicks Masimba out. Eugene's son Honor explains he became the one to teach Masimba due to the fact he grew up right here in the plantation and Speedy understood that a few slaves have been seeking to rise. Teaching Masimba convinced him that black humans also are human. The governor brings up Madame Lovick-Mar, the girl who hunts down runaway slaves and has the alternative views. An argument ensues over the remedy of slaves and Eugene has to silence Honor to keep away from trouble. However, the governor now thinks Eugene doesn't rule this region well. After the governor leaves, Eugene slaps Honor for spewing his troublesome views. Then he calls Masimba to announce he's dropping all his privileges. He'll reduce Cain like the others and he won't stay together along with his daughter anymore. Maddie will live below Eugene's roof and if Masimba attempts to protest, he'll kill her. When Maddie hears approximately this she attempts to self-delete, however Masimba stops her and sends her to the house. Seconds later Masimba hears the puppies barking and masses of screaming. He straight away runs out and unearths a defend on Hearth Place, however no Maddie in sight. The different guards inform him that Maddie ran away earlier than sending him lower back to his room. The subsequent morning the guards inform Eugene that they couldn't find Maddie. Eugene asks them to name Madame Lovick-Mar earlier than telling Honor to sign up for the search to restore the family's reputation. Honor is compelled to agree, however additionally asks his father to deal with Maddie higher when he brings her lower back. Afterward Masimba is tied to the floor and whipped for numerous minutes to make him talk. However, he has no concept wherein Maddie went. At that second Madame Lovick-Mar arrives together along with her sons Joseph and Baptiste. She turns down Eugene's cash and asks for the info of Maddie's escape. Victoire attempts interrogating Masimba, explaining that she'll convey Maddie alive because she believes in punishment. However, Masimba continues to swear he is aware of nothing. Then they convey Maddie's body Ruba and because she's pregnant. They dig a hollow within inside the floor for her stomach earlier than tying her up. They simplest want to whip her toes once earlier than she tells them Matty went seeking out the Filumi village. Victoire has heard of the legend earlier than and without delay leaves together along with her sons and Honor to begin the search. Using Matty's clothes, a canine follows her odor through the woodland until Victoire unearths marks at the floor that indicate Matty met a person and left with them. A few hours later, the organization notices there aren't any extra traces to comply with. However, they are able to see a hill with inside the distance. They determine to get to the pinnacle and look ahead to a whilst to look if everybody will pop out of hiding. Back on the plantation, Misimba has been locked up in a tiny mobile with the series masks round his head. He begs Ruba for assist, however she ignores him. When anybody is achieved working, Ruby throws meals at the puppies to hold them quiet. Later that night time, Ruby cautiously sneaks round and frees Misimba from the mobile eater earlier than speeding lower back to her room. With the puppies asleep, Misimba manages to run through the sphere without being detected. The subsequent morning, Victoire's sons suppose Matty is long gone and they're losing time. However, Victoire thinks they want to be patient. Meanwhile, Misimba has reached the woodland and forestalls with the aid of using the river to drink. That's difficult due to the masks. After hitting the lock for numerous minutes with the rock, he manages to interrupt it and take the masks off. Using branches to create shadows below the intense sun, he can discover the proper path to keep the look for his daughter. That night time, Victoire scolds Honor for ingesting without manners like a black savage and forces all of the boys to pray. She explains God has continually been her manual and saved her inside the darkest times. Honor has already heard her story. He is aware of she changed into abused as a child, compelled into an undesirable marriage as a teenager, and the primary lady at the island to be divorced. He thinks she's the most effective character at the island who is aware of the horrors the slaves undergo and should be sympathetic. However, Victoire insists that the church has verified that black human beings don't have any souls. She doesn't suppose it's her area to impeach the church, but Honor can inform she has doubts. During the night time, Misimba desires that his spouse is with the aid of using his side. The following day, Misimba begins evolved going up the hill and is visible with the aid of using Victoire. When he begins evolved wandering the various trees, he hears a noise and reveals a black guy named Kabadi who guides him around. There's additionally a black lady with a child, and collectively all of them disguise from Victoria's group due to the fact they've entered the woods to appearance for them. At that second, the child begins evolved crying and Baptiste hears them, so the slaves should start going for walks as speedy as possible. Unfortunately, they can't cross some distance, so Kabadi makes the mom disguise and offers Misimba one in all his blades. When Baptiste receives near sufficient, he opens fire. However, the slaves avert it and Misimba manages to address him to the ground. Baptiste fights lower back as Misimba tries to hit him to knock him out. However, Misimba freezes while all at once Honor calls his call and asks him to surrender. Kabadi then seems behind Honor and fast kills him with the aid of using slashing his neck. After asking Misimba to do the same, Kabadi runs to disguise. Misimba stares at Baptiste, however he can't deliver himself to do it, so he runs away too. With Joseph now walking after him, Misimba actions as quick as viable till he's all at once tackled to a black guy named Rado, who facilitates him locate a region to hide. Once Joseph leaves, the guys keep going and Rado explains he's searching out the Filumi village. They forestall at a cave wherein Rado stocks the little meals he has plus a sparkling shirt, even as telling the tale in the back of his uniform he used to combat for France and that they even made him a citizen. But while he got here to this island they burned his freedom papers and attempted to pressure him into slavery. Meanwhile, Victoire is taking care of Honor's body. Baptiste factors out that the slaves spared him like a great Christian might have, and that wording isn't obtained nicely through his family. Victoire spends maximum of the night time praying. In the morning she declares the Lord is shielding them so that they should preserve the hunt. However, Baptiste refuses to head after the person who spared his life, so alternatively he'll take Honor again to his father. Olivier Joseph jumps on his brother and that they begin combating at the floor even as Victoire stares without doing anything. After some minutes of wrestling, Baptiste manages to defeat his brother and leaves the wooded area with Honor's body. Moments later, Musimba is at the flow again, following tracks at the floor to locate his daughter. When Rado attempts to depart the cave too, Joseph shoots his leg to deliver him down. Then Joseph squeezes the wound even as he and Victoire ask him approximately Maddie and Musimba. Rado refuses to communicate and says this island belongs to black people, so Victoire shoots him with inside the head. The duo searches the cave and unearths Musimba's vintage shirt, so now the canine can observe his smell. In simply a short while the canine unearths Musimba crossing the river and jumps to assault him. Unaware there's a waterfall in the back of them, they each fall into the lake under and Musimba attempts swimming as rapid as he can. However, the canine without problems catches as much as him and bites his arm. As he screams in ache, Musimba pushes the canine off and grabs a rock to ruin the beast's head to death. On pinnacle of the waterfall, Joseph and Victoire see Musimba break out into the woods. For the following few hours, Musimba continues to wander across the wooded area whilst flowing any tune he can discover. Eventually he has to forestall and relaxation due to the fact he's dropping an excessive amount of blood. Victoire and Joseph are nonetheless looking beneath the rain and get the clue they want once they observe a few blood on a tree. That night time Musimba desires approximately his spouse once more and receives encouraging phrases from her, receiving her blessing and a promise of guidance. The following day Musimba makes it to the seaside and unearths a group of lifeless slaves at the sand and with inside the water. There's additionally a destroyed boat. This means that the typhoons